We set out the next morning toward the lake where Dylan had gone for water. By then, the heat was unbelievable. It seeped up through the uneven mounds of already hardening lava under our feet, and the ash cloud above us held it in like a blanket. Of course, heat rises, so flying was out of the question. The least boiling place was on the ground. We were being slow-cooked like bird-kid stew, and I was the bitter onion, so mad at Dylan I could spit. Most of us were doing okay regulating our body temperature, mutant genes, etc., but poor Aquila was looking a little rough. Her tongue hung out of the side of her mouth, but there was none of her signature drool, and she was panting super loud. "Are you all right, my darling?" Total asked, trotting alongside her. Aquila whined, and he jumped to lick her face a few times. That was just about the most real, dog-like thing I'd ever seen Total do, and, I'll be honest, it kind of freaked me out. "Once Dylan stops being an idiot and shows up with the water jugs, everything will be fine," I said loudly. Despite our inborn sense of direction, I had no idea where we were. All landmarks were gone. Even the forest of tree stumps had disappeared under the rivers of gray deposits. Finally, we stumbled on the lake, but it wasn't the blue thermal pool we remembered. A thick gray film covered the surface, broken only by the hundreds or thousands of silvery dead fish bobbing through it. The cloud of black flies hovering over them was thicker than the ash. "Well, might as well eat 'em before they rot." Kasey grabbed a silvery floater, brushed off the ash as best he could, and bit into the side. Then he looked up in surprise, his face as dirty and gray as the water. "Hey, it's cooked." One by one, we grabbed a cooked fish right out of the still warm water, brushed off the ash, and ate our fill. One downside of our avian genes was a lightning-fast metabolism that meant we were nearly always hungry. A little further on, we saw it. Our precious stockpile of water was untouched, the jugs covered with ash, but intact. We weren't going to die of thirst. At least, not yet. Luck loves maximum ride, I thought, cupping my hands so Aquila could drink. But then my heart plummeted. If the jugs hadn't moved, it could only mean one thing. Dylan hadn't even made it this far. For hours, we stayed close to the shore where the ash was less dense, and took turns flying through the debris to search the cliffs. But the volcano was still pumping black smoke, and the air was getting harder to breathe. I was bent over after one of these missions, hacking up some blood and wondering if my fast healing ability included my guts, when I spotted a charred gray knob poking out of the rubble. "Another cave bone," I sighed. "Looks kind of femur-y." That's how we had known the island's underwater tunnels had collapsed after the apocalyptic meteor. The corpses had started washing up on shore. We were still finding them, almost 3 months later. I didn't know if any of the bones had belonged to my mother or my half-sister. How would I be able to tell? "Not necessarily." Fang's lips pressed together. I held it up. Though charred, it was totally a human femur. Kasey shook his head. "It's burned. We don't know how old it is. The lava would have done that if it had been a cave corpse or someone more recently, like yesterday." I was having trouble swallowing, trouble breathing. "Let's go back to the cave," Nudge said gently. "We can try another path." I whirled around. "Angel, try to tap into Dylan's thoughts. He's got to be somewhere. He's just hiding or looking for us. I'm sure he's nearby." Angel looked away. "Ig, can't you smell him or something?" Iggy leaned heavily against a rock. Flakes of ash fell from his white blonde hair when he shook his head. Though his eyes were unseeing, they were full of pity. "It's not him," I insisted, kicking ash back over the bones. "It's like Dylan's cognitive connection just stopped," Angel said finally. "Like with your mom and Ella." "We never found their bodies." My jaw tightened. "We don't know what happened to them. Just like we don't know what happened here." It was getting harder to say his name. "Everything is dead, Max." Angel's tone was firm. "Everything except us." "No." I wanted to shake her. "Guys." I looked down the beach. At first I couldn't make out what Fang was holding. It was so black and warped.